All right, here we are on runway 15 right in Boston. Um, I'm going to attempt to make a hand fly a Boeing 787 jet and do what's called a circuit or a traffic pattern, or you could even call it a touch and go. Normally when we're flying a jet like this, we rely on the autopilot all the time for flying. But this one here, this flight, it's hard to fly the jet by hand. It's much harder to fly strictly by hand without any autopilot input. But it's important to be able to do that because you could lose your autopilot. You got to be able to fly it by hand. So I'm going to attempt to take off, circle around up by Wakefield, and come back down and land on runway 15 right, strictly by hand, no autopilot input. Normally we would set our altitude to what we want, 3,000 feet like this, and then set our speed, I'm going to 200 for instance, and then turn on the auto throttle here. I'm going to turn it off, no auto throttle. Here's the autopilot switch, I'm not going to press that, so I have absolutely no input. Normally the autopilot would, if I clicked on autopilot, would handle the altitude, would handle the heading. If I clicked on that, would handle the rate of the vertical speed, which is the rate you're climbing or descending. The autopilot handles all that. And the auto throttle is a separate control. You can set the auto throttle on and automatically try and maintain whatever speed you have set here. But that's turned off. All that has to be done by hand. I'm going to change my main screens here, switch this one, the right one with the left one, because I like the full screen here. I'm going to turn the range out a little bit, out to like 40 miles. Turn on the terrain, and the one on this side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to zoom it out a little bit. Let's go out to 20 on this one. 20 nautical miles, and turn on the terrain on that side too. Now, when you get up to a certain altitude, you'll see the terrain will appear. It just helps guide the plane if you know you're running into a problem. All right, and here we are. We're ready to go, ready to take off. All right, first thing we're going to release the handbrake and slowly advance the throttle until we have full throttle and take off. And here we go. This is an external view of the takeoff. Put the here's the landing gear going up. Okay, back inside the cockpit here. If you'll notice the main display, you can see that orange area, that's the terrain. And it's orange because we're fairly close to the ground. Now you just saw it turn green. It turned green because we're getting a little higher. Eventually it goes away when you get a certain level. That's just to show you what the terrain is. Okay, and here we're looking out the passenger window now as we fly by Deer Island. You can see the windmills on Deer Island. That's where the sewage treatment plant is for Boston. And now you can see the main display has turned green because we're at a higher altitude, at a safer altitude. As I said, eventually when you get even higher, that just disappears. And here's what it looks like out the right side of the plane. You can nice view of the right side engine and the wing. And that's what the passenger will see sitting in the right hand side. And if you're wondering how this is done, it's because when I fly the original flight, I turn on a program that tracks the flight. It doesn't record the flight video with a video. It actually creates data, and then I can recreate the flight and then create a video of the flight, looking at it from all different angles, from inside or outside the plane. So that's how we get the different angles that you see. And looking out the left window now, that's rear Revere Beach you see over there, and just coming into view is Nahant, and you can just, beyond that is the city of Lynn, and pretty soon we're going to make a left-hand turn and start heading inland. Here, just continuing on further, here's a better view of Nahant. Alright, looking straight ahead now, you can see Marblehead, and that's Marblehead Neck to the right. There's a little causeway that goes over to that. Can't see it quite yet from this distance. And you can maybe you can hear a faint noise in the background. That's me putting up the flaps. And here we go, making our left-hand turn. Going to start heading north and fly up to Wakefield and go around Lake Quantapalo. Here's a good view of the plane. That's my United. I have this particular jet, the 787. I have, I think, about 30 different paints, what they call paints, different planes, like United Airlines. I have one that's BLAC, British Airlines, different planes. There's a good shot of the. You can see in the bottom there, you can see the causeway going out to Nahant. There's Lynn. As we continue on it, heading north. Alright, just a quick look out the left here. That pond off on the top right there, T-shaped, sort of looks like a T. That's Walden Pond. That's where Henry David Thoreau had a cabin on that lake and did all his writing on that pond, on simple living, etc. The famous book was called Walden. And maybe here's a better view of it right here. There it is, right there in the center of the screen. And the other pond on the right, just coming into view, one with a little island, is called Suntog Lake. And continuing on north here, we're heading toward Lake Quantapalo in Wakefield. And there it is, it just came into view, the lake that's right there, the furthest lake away. That's Lake Quantapalo, and you can just make out Route 128 north of the lake. And we're going to be turning left here and heading west, and we'll be going right by the north end of Lake Quantapalo and get a better view of it. And we'll keep looking out the left window as we make the turn. And you can clearly see the lake now, and you can see, let me just take a look out front here. And we're doing fine. Okay, back to the lake. There's Lake Quantapalo, and that's Route 128 going around it. You should look familiar to a lot of people, been out over that pond. Just going past the lake is North Street, going south into Wakefield. And continuing on, the next road you see is Route 28, where it crosses 128, goes south into Stoneham. And just coming into view is Route 93, going south. And that pond in the distance is Spot Pond. And there's a good view of Route 93. All right, back to the front, and we're about ready to start our final approach into runway 15 right, turning left. That pond just right there, you can barely see it, and just over the panel, that's Horn Pond in Woburn. And down in the distance there, that's Mystic Lakes, North Mystic Lake, South Mystic Lake.
And continuing our turn, you can just see Boston off to the far right, and there's a little hard to make out from this distance, but there's Logan Airport, pretty much dead ahead. And we're going to level off here. Well, it looks like I turned a little too far left. I'm turning right here. Try and get lined up with the runway, 15 right. And there you can see it just coming into view there. You can see Logan Airport almost in the middle of the screen now is runway 15 right. You can just see it. We're heading toward it. It's the runway on the far left of Logan Airport, and we're trying to line up with it. We start putting in our flaps, slowing down, starting to descend. All right, right now we're about 2,000, a little over 2,000 feet above the ground. We're slowing the plane down, putting in flaps gradually. We're slowing down to about 200. We're less than 200 knots right now. As we continue to slow down, we have to put in more flaps. More flaps create more drag, and we have to increase our power. And it's time for gear down. As we approach runway 15 right, gear is down and locked. And now you can see the display again is orange because we're getting closer to the ground. That's a warning telling us that we're getting close to the ground. Slowing down more. Trying to come in for a smooth landing. And here we go. Getting close. Looking good, looking good.
300.
Once we touch down, we have to give it, put in the spoilers and thrust reversers,
100.
and then apply the brakes and cut the throttle. Here we go. Flare. We got to flare the plane. Keep it off the ground and flare till we touch down. There we go. Nice. Not bad. We're down. Now we're going to just refly the landing and take a look at it from the right-hand passenger's window, and we can look at the wing and the engine. A beautiful shot. You can see the buildings. Oh, there's the Mystic River Bridge, Boston coming into view. Getting down, getting closer to the ground. There's a good view of Boston in the distance. Getting lower. Here we go. We're over the runway, flaring the plane, and touchdown. And if you look, there's the thrust reversers going into action. And if you look at the back of the wing, you'll see the spoilers have been put in. That interrupts the flow of the wings and keeps the plane on the ground. Full thrust reversers. And we're slowing down to a crawl. Thrust reversers off, apply the brakes. Alright, as we slow down here, we're going to bring the flaps up, and you can see the slats on the leading edge of the wing retract also. Take a right hand turn here and come to a stop. I hope you enjoyed the video.